Welcome to the Late Game Podcast, a podcast about all things board gaming, from rolling dice to painting minis and everything in between. I'm your host, Tyler, and with me is Kenneth.
What up?
And Russ.
How are you?
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody's had an awesome holiday and you got the games that you were hoping for. I definitely had an awesome Christmas and got a handful of good stuff that I look forward to playing, some of which I actually got a chance to play this last Saturday. Which included Merlin, designed by Stefan Feld and Michael Reineck, published by Queen Games. Merlin's an action selection game with a rondel that includes elements of area majority and set collection, and the theme is that we're all different knights of the round table and we're trying to gain the favor of King Arthur. While each player is in control of their own knight pawns, Merlin himself is going to be a shared pawn on the round table rondel that the players take turns moving around through the dice movement. And each player has 3 action dice and 1 Merlin die that they're using to get the best spots on the rondel in order to complete quests, build buildings, or influence principalities on the board. I really liked it quite a bit, and after I watched a couple of review videos, I assumed it would be a relatively simple game to pick up. And while it really isn't difficult by any stretch, it's definitely complex, at least in the decision-making process. There are lots of options and very few clues on which one's going to be the most optimal. What did you think of it, Kenneth?
Honestly, I didn't love it. For me, I feel like it honestly, it could come down to that I was getting bad rolls. So to do the actions, you're going around the round table to the different action spots based on what you roll. So it's like, if you roll a 5 and what's 5 spaces away from you sucks, you're kind of stuck. And I found that after like a round or two, I was like, okay, I'm seeing what's going on here. I need to prioritize my order, and figure out,
right.
If I got a 1, a 3, and a 5, maybe the 5 isn't the first one I want to go with. Maybe I want to go 1, and that'll set up the 5 to do something better, and then do the 3 at the end or whatever. And I found that I was consistently getting, I would math it out in each possible order, and I was consistently going, well, that's nothing. I won't be doing anything to score points or progress on this one. What I can do is trade in some of these cards that would give me points if I could land 1 space before where I'm at,
right,
and do something with those cards. I'm down with Ameritrash. I'm down with random and having fun. I also like Euros, and it's cool when you can kind of blend the Euro strategy with some of the Ameritrash elements. This game felt like the Ameritrash elements, for me, took away the Euro strategizing, because it was like, okay, I want to do either this, I want to do one of these 3 things, roll the dice, and I will be doing none of them. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to play. We had 4 players. I had to build a few more chairs for the table, but I wanted it to get played. So my thought after the first round, I was like, Russ is going to buy this thing immediately. And then I continued playing and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Every single round 5,
I liked it less.
Do you have to go 5 or could you go up to 5?
You have to go 5. So it's one of the things that I found when I wasn't having a good turn, like Kenneth said, it's easy to get screwed over on what you've got available to you. And one of the things that I didn't do often enough, and I think Kevin just got lucky as shit every time that he rolled, he had everything he needed, because he ended up damn near lapping all of us.
Yeah.
But as far as the flags, I didn't focus on using those as often as I should have, because those basically break and bend the rules that give you an additional option in all of that, but you have to land on that principality in order to gain that flag, which was awesome.
I want to say that I did it like, so the game is played out over 6 rounds, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that 3 of those it was impossible for me to land on a principality at all. Like, let alone landing on the one that you want. I could not get to one, period.
Right.
So is there any way to mitigate the rolls? Like anything that you can purchase or use to get to where you can mitigate the rolls?
In another world, there's like, you could, if we were playing on a smaller table, you could flip it over. No, there's not really. Like, you roll and then you're kind of, I mean,
obviously I don't know much about it, but my thought would be like, if you roll, like, you could move up to 5.
Yeah, the ways
which I don't know if that would work either, because then you pretty much can
then why are you doing it?
Right.
The ways to mitigate it kind of depends on those flags that he was talking about, and the way to get those depends on the rolls. So, like, there is a little bit of mitigation if you're lucky enough to get the thing that allows you to mitigate bad luck. I don't know. It, like,
there's a handful of spots on the board, and nobody used the flags to their fullest.
Oh no, they were
ability.
very, like, not even a secondary thought. They were like a very back burner thing.
Yeah, I think the only time that they used them was when Kevin needed to get rid of all of the traders headed towards his castle.
I used my, like, starting flag fairly early on because
the
one that I had allowed me to go backwards one time instead of going forward on the thing. And that was really handy. And I was like, hey, that was cool. So I was looking to get them. But every time that I landed on a principality, I had, like, there was other things that were my priorities, like putting influence there or getting the cubes. And after a while, I realized that getting cubes wasn't doing anything for me because I never landed where I would build, or when I did build, I didn't have cubes. Like, there's a lot of really cool and really interesting strategy in the game, and just for me, that strategy was completely overshadowed by the one random element, like, and my bad luck, I guess, really tainted the whole thing. I really enjoyed the first round, but every round I liked it less and less. And by the end of the game, I was like, just end it, please, just be over.
Right. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd like to throw it down again and possibly, expand on using the flags more to my advantage and trying to do a few different things.
And you said there's also, like, other modules that we didn't use, right?
Yeah, there's a module in there that I think could be extremely beneficial to mitigating things, because instead of getting points for those cards, you unlock different abilities on that mat.
Yeah.
Which and I think that could help open the game up in a way that could be more beneficial to what you're saying. Another thing is there's 2 different expansions that do a couple of different things. I don't know much about them yet, but they look really interesting, and they may also add some more mitigation to some of that being stuck. But
yeah, I would try it again. I'd give it another shot because I recognize that a lot of like, I know that I lost gloriously, but the thing that was frustrating to me was I felt like helpless, and it felt like most of what I was doing, because like, whatever strategies I was doing were neutered by my bad rolls.
Right.
It felt like what I was doing was inconsequential. It left me with a feeling similar to your red and green Robin Hood game, where it, like, the randomness just made it so I couldn't do stuff. And, like, yeah, there's a game there, but I wasn't playing it no matter how hard I tried.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of sad watching it happen, because everything that was going to benefit one of us was going to take away from Kenneth too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, every time that I was like, all right, I got someone out on the board, I got one of my people out there, it was like out there, and then the very next person was like, and it's back to you. I was like, well, shit. All right, cool.
Yeah,
like,
it did kind of suck way.
I'm just here so that it takes longer for you guys to play this game, I guess. But I'd give it another shot, but I didn't love it.
I think using the module might be more fun.
Yeah, I would
Now that I
definitely be
understand the
interested
basic
in-
mechanics of it, I think that would at least be
I'd definitely be more interested
swinging
in
at.
adding something to it.
for sure.
Or loaded dice. I mean, I'd be down with loaded dice too. If I could just roll 4s every time, then I think I'd be fine.
Right? That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
Just
I
going
know.
from principality, because then that
Yeah.
opens up your options a ton.
Yeah, the principalities give you that gives you 4 options. Like, not only is that like the spot that does the most stuff, but each of those you have 4 options there. So it's like, all right, what strategy do I want to use?
Yeah.
Do you have to move in the same direction?
With the knights, you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Merlin can go either direction,
Okay.
and there's like the starting flag that I had. I used that to move backwards 1 time.
Every time you guys say Knights of the Round Table, you guys ever remember the Monty Python Holy Grail? I just keep hearing the song, "We're the Knights of the Round Table."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I looked at it because the way that the board is laid out, you've got the round table in the middle, and all of the action
Yeah.
spots are chairs. It's musical chairs of the round table.
yeah,
It is.
That's what I was saying. I was like, because so frequently I'd get a spot and then someone else would mess with it, and I was like, all right, it's just musical chairs of the round table.
so we played another rondelle. One of my favorite Europe, probably one of the games that really first clicked for me. Of like, I really like heavy Euros.
Yeah.
And what did you think of it? It's your game.
I liked it quite a bit until Russ decided he didn't want the certain tile that was going to benefit everybody else but him, and then he swapped it out and won the game because of it. But other than that, it was wonderful.
I told you.
No, I'm just
at the end. I was like,
I'm just kidding.
well, it was
What do you?
Teotihuacan.
You guys are talking about toothy chicken or whatever. It
yeah,
is?
toothy chicken.
So we tried to stay with the basic board, and then one spot we put random, and then realized that it wasn't like the ones we put on it were the same. So we removed them, but then at the end, because we removed them, I won by a few points, where I was like, we can put it back, and then I lose by 4 points.
Well,
Like it.
the game itself is awesome, and
And
was
to be
kinda
fair,
sad,
I think that like I was way far behind.
he was. He
like
was
I took a
doing
strategy.
What happened with you and Merlin? He was
Like I took a strategy,
way behind.
knowing the game, and I was way behind. And I was like, now I see why Jared didn't like his play. And I had a long-term plan, and I was like, slightly adjusted it, and it did work out.
But
But
after
to
the
be fair,
first
I
round,
think
he said, "We're
Tyler-
done, right?"
To be fair, I think Tyler backed off. He stopped building the temples as much and stuff. So
I had a pretty significant lead, and I wanted other people to
Right.
feel like there was a game going on. And I just, I did enjoy it, especially once I understood the mechanisms and what was, moving around. It wasn't quite as easy as I anticipated it being based on your previous reviews
So this
of
is
it.
funny because I was like playing it again, and I was like, it totally makes sense. I still think like, oh, you do this, and then playing, I was like, man, my perception of like light games is so skewed. Like,
Wait,
because it's not light.
were you
you've
thinking
got-
that one's a light game?
Well, I was
'Cause-
thinking it was medium weight. Because once you get going, it's pretty simple. You got all these tracks and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's-
simple. You've got all these different things.
I would say it's
just the words that you said after it's pretty simple didn't sound simple.
well, you have the rondelle,
Right.
but within the rondelle, there's also like worship
within the
spots.
rondelle.
There's also worship spots, and then on top of the rondelle, there's 4 tracks.
Yeah, you are completely out of touch with simplicity. You,
So I think granted, I think it's not as difficult as the board looks. Kind of like Clever, where Clever, like
For
you
sure.
give the score sheet, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing ever," and then you're like, "Nah, it's not too bad." That's how this is. But this is. I definitely don't want to teach it to my non-gamers like I thought I did.
Yeah, me
Like,
too. See, and I was thinking I was going to bring it home and be like, no, don't be intimidated. But now I'm like, no, I'm intimidated to teach.
So, but it's man, I really like that game.
It's an awesome game. I'm glad that I traded for it. I'm looking forward to playing it again. I think it'll be fun to play with this
Yeah.
core group right here, too.
And as frustrated as I was after the first round, it wasn't the game. It was like, man, the strategy sucked. Let's start over. Let's be done.
Right.
I lost. I want to try something else. But I much like Crusaders, I get in that where it's, sure, I like winning, but it's this whole like thought process of what you want to do to best use your workers and use, oh man. It's,
well, the game itself offers many different machines or mechanisms
Yeah.
to earn things. And that's one of the things that really appealed to me once we got going, but it also distracted me toward the end, is that, you know, oh, I can go here because I need a couple of these resources, and then I can go here, and then by the time that I looped back around, I had overshot the thing that I meant to do the first planning.
well, and there is so much to do that I think some players get distracted. So when you go to play Teotihuacan, remember that the purpose, and I hear people say that, well, it's about temple building, but there's a lot of other stuff. Realistically, if you want to win, it's about temple building. Like, that's where you score your points, whether it's decorations or the actual temple tiles. If you don't do that, if you're just trying to score other ways, like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's great to focus on, you know, there's 4 tracks. There's 4 tracks. I don't think it's good to spread yourself thin and worry about 4 tracks. Like, where do you want to? That's what gave me the most points, was I focused on 1 to give me cocoa to pay that. But what happened is after the first round, you have to pay your workers. And I was not ready for the eclipse. I literally had 9 points after the first round, and Tyler was like at
35 or something.
I was like, oh my gosh.
The ethnos you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to.
Yeah.
But then I let him back into it.
Yeah.
And
So it's
a cool game, though. It's something I look forward to playing again. I'm curious to see what the expansion brings, because
yeah, I heard
it seems like a busy ass game to begin with.
I've heard someone say they didn't like it, and then I hear great things about it, so I'm kind of curious.
Sounds like you're reading about it on social media.
Yeah,
Because it's one or the other. I love this. I hate this.
That's true.
This is the best thing ever. It's the worst thing ever.
but I can definitely see how some people might not like that game. I love it, but I can see why people wouldn't like it. Like, if you don't like Euros, that is not your game.
And if you don't like playing with dice
That you don't roll.
that you don't get a roll, you're not going to like it, because you don't roll them once.
I would love to play a variant like I talked about, where you move, because however powerful your worker is what you get a trigger there. So like, if you just randomly, like, once you move it, you roll the die and see what you get, that'd be a total messed up way. But I think
it would be
kind of
chaotic
fun.
as hell.
Yeah.
But if everybody's going that route, it'd be kind of fun.
That sounds like Merlin.
Well, you can.
Like that sounds like you would be turning that game into Merlin.
Yeah. And more randomness. I think I would like if it didn't have the tiles, right? Because each place is reprinted on a tile.
Right.
So you can randomize the order. I do think that game would fall into a real heavy situation where you could min-max it. Like, this is what I'm going to do every time. And the only thing that you can mess people up with, like, where your workers are and how much cocoa and all that kind of stuff. But I think the randomness would add quite a bit. So
we also played a
tour.
game of Quacks.
Oh, we did. Yeah. I love that game.
I do too.
My expansion came today.
I didn't love that play.
I hate playing
but I love that game.
I hate playing the copy that we did because it's dumb.
You mean gorgeous?
Yes.
I think you. Yeah.
Yes, and until the BGG bits come in, I don't like playing Ken's version.
I was
version.
Excuse me. This just turned into a weird podcast.
How frustrating has it been playing it since then?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I need to pick up.
Bring yourself
I need
to
to pick up some of those bags from you, by the way.
Yeah, I got some before you leave. Let me know.
So.
Those Crown Royal bags make a big difference, even with just the cardboard shits. Like, the fact that you don't have things getting lost in those corners is really, really nice.
And I will say that's probably straight from the box, that game, that's my only negative. Like,
yeah,
the bags corners are pretty bad.
The bags are pretty crap. But
yeah.
I mean, even the cardboard shits, they're fine. Like everything about like the quality of the game, aside from just the bags, like everything else is fine. I mean, upgrading the chits, like if you play it as much as I do, and you got, especially if you got teenage boys that like it as much as mine do, those clammy hands, they're gonna wear down on that cardboard.
Well, I would say too that the upgraded bags, the upgraded chits, sped up play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they're just easier to grab, and they're not hiding in the corner.
Yeah,
it's just kind of nice.
Yeah,
I really like some of the new stuff.
Was that your first time playing with the Herb Witches expansion? Also,
I really like it.
What did you think of that?
I really like it. I like the one that copies
the Loco Weed.
Yeah, Loco Weed, and then the one-time abilities. That one where you can pull out 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you time that right, that really triggered me to be able to do what I wanted to.
There's 4 different for each color. Like, there's so much variety in that game.
I plan on playing it tonight with the family. So
that's one thing I like about it.
Kind of excited.
Is it's got a lot of replayability with the different 2 sides of the books that you're using. That's because you're not going to be using the same 4 sides of that expansion. You can mix it up. You can use 3 of the same side, and then just it's got a lot of variety in it.
Such a good game. Like, it's very simple.
Yep.
It was one of those, I don't want to say I dragged my feet into it, but it was kind of like, I don't know. And I love that game.
Yeah.
What did you play, Kenneth? Anything else?
Well, aside from those 2 and like a couple of games of That's Pretty Clever.
Oh my gosh.
I
love that game, and I can't get enough of the app right now.
Yeah, that game is an instant hit in my house. I also played another game of Awkward Guests with my sister-in-law and her boyfriend, and I really like that game. Like, the first time, it's kind of funny, like thinking about it, the first time playing it, I felt like it was kind of complicated, and I mean, I'm not going to say it's simple like Teotihuacan, it's not simple, but here's 1,000,001 ways that it's complex. But playing it the first time, I was like, yeah, there's some decent complexity to it. Playing it again, I was like, how did I think this was anything but like a very, very light, thinky, but very light game. Like, it is so simple. Like, there's a certain amount of like
my bad.
There's a certain amount of things feeling somewhat unintuitive about it, especially like that first time that you're playing. Like, my sister-in-law had a hard time figuring out, like, how do I even know anything about weapons? And I was like, well, either cards are going to say something about weapons, or you look at the rooms that people went in, because the weapons start off in a certain room, so a person has to pass through the room to get a weapon, and she was kind of, oh, okay. And I want to say that the final round, we were all guessing. I made it, I guessed and got right. I was pretty sure I was right. But yeah, it really is. It's like everything that I ever would have hoped Clue would be.
Yeah.
I will say that playing at 3, because there is so much less information changing hands, it felt like it took a little bit longer. I would probably advise to stick to 5 or more on that game, honestly.
Which is actually good. I mean, there's so many games at 4 or less. The 5 or more, if you can add, is great.
Playing with that many people, it's going to take longer to do a round around the board, but you're going to be more engaged because there's going to be more information trading hands, and you're going to be going, okay, hey, I've got some of that, I'll throw in and I'll trade it, because on your turn, you ask for information about 2 of rooms and or people. So, I want to know about if you got a card that talks about the living room and, this guy, then anyone who has that, there's information values, and then you have to trade that much value of whatever information you have in your hand for the value of information that they're giving you. So with more people, there's going to be more information trading hands, whereas with only 3 of us, it got very easy to go, well, you gave me this last time, so you can have that back. And you gave me that last time, so you can have it back. And I am absolutely not going to give you guys the 3 value pieces of information that I have that like narrow down a ton of stuff on my board.
Well, and then you wouldn't also have to worry about those things that you didn't want to give out already coming back around.
Yeah, and
like you're not going to go through the deck as fast.
You go through the deck slower, and it's a good enough game that like I'm down, and I do want to play with like with you guys again and step up the difficulty a little bit and see how the more complex and longer games go. But yeah, it's.
I didn't realize how old that game was. 2016. I thought it was like a new game.
Huh. Maybe there's the BGG.
Nope, it's that one.
No, I'm guessing that it's like based off of a prototype or something like that.
Maybe.
Because sometimes that happens, but that game was on Kickstarter this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it might have been a reprint. I don't know.
No.
So.
No. It was the first major printing of it. But
yeah.
I mean, sometimes they go off of like
just
when the prototypes are made or whatever.
Yeah. That's a good one.
The other new to me game that I played was it was done using just regular deck of cards to improvise, but we played Werewolf, which I can see the appeal. I see why people like it. It was fine with a group of people that I'm more comfortable with than my in-laws, being at grandma's house where my potty mouth is frowned upon. And most of like, and it wasn't just like, if it was just, my wife and her direct family, her dad and her sisters and stuff, I'd have been fine. But when you factor in like aunt and uncle and cousins and stuff, I get a little bit more like, I'll just kind of be quiet. With a group of friends, I could see that being fun. And I think that, like, we played with a deck, like I said, just a regular deck of like poker cards. So I don't know what it says in the actual rule book, but if you're allowed to play that game without drinking, they really messed up on the rule book.
Have you played?
You should definitely like have a couple of drinks, and like I think that game would be really fun to kind of get people a little bit saucy and a little bit loose in the tongue, and just kind of.
Have you played Resistance?
No.
See, if I'm going to play that type of game, I'd rather go Resistance or something like that where, I don't know, rolls are a little bit different, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we actually were going to play a Kickstarter game that I got that's supposed to be very similar to Werewolf, and it appears to be very similar to Werewolf, but...
What is it?
It's called Wolves of Mercia, which, the way that it's spelt, like 10 times out of 10, someone will look at it and say, Wolves of America! and it's, no, those 2 letters are in the opposite order. That's how reading works. But with that game, everyone has a role that is public that has some sort of ability and a secret that has like an ability for the night phase or something like that. We were like going to play it, and then basically everyone went, wow, this seems really complicated. Do we have a deck of cards? We could just play Werewolf. And I was like, all right, whatever. We can play this. We can play the version of this that's
if you
enough.
want to play complicated, I think Blood on the Clock Tower would be the way to go, right?
See, Wolves of Mercia was like $20, and Blood on the Clock Tower cost like $9,000 or something like that.
So
I kind of like.
Do you want to play the legacy version of Werewolf?
No, it felt like a legacy version because we ended up playing. It was kind of funny and like kind of sad because my wife was like, all right, we'll play this game, whatever. We play a game and it lasts like 5 minutes, and she was like, all right, cool, let's play Quacks. And everyone they start just sort of dealing out the cards again. She was like, oh, we're playing this again. All right. And then we play like another round, and she's like, could we try Quacks? We got Quacks over there. No. Oh, we're just playing this again. And then a little bit later, like, we were switching who was the moderator or whatever, and like Ashley gets up and walks over and comes back over with Carnival of Monsters in her hand, like a big old smile on her face. She's like, "Oh, we're playing this again." Okay, like she did not seem to enjoy herself at all. Like, I'm certainly not in a big giant hurry to go out and play Werewolf or necessarily anything quite like it again, but with a group of friends, and especially with, those who partake of alcohol imbibing a bit, I would be down. I think that there's a ton of like potential for fun in that genre.
As long as the people are good at lying. If not, you just pick on someone like Zach and say, "You're the bad guy." And he's like, "Yep."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess The Thing is one of the social deduction games that I've played. And then we played what was it, Spyfall or something like that?
Yeah.
Once. And then Werewolf.
Those are popular in my house. My daughter loves.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind trying.
I have Ultimate Werewolf. I have the actual printing of it. I'd love to play it. I just haven't had a big enough group and the right chemistry in said group.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to me is like when I'm relaxed and I'm having fun, I am an absolute loudmouth. You can't shut me up. But when I'm like not relaxed, I'm quiet. I don't say anything. And so I'm like sitting there just whatever. Like I was a werewolf, and it was one of the early rounds when I want to say it was like the third game we played. I ended up being a werewolf, and someone kind of went, Kenneth's being awfully quiet over there. And everyone went, yeah, he's been quiet the whole time. I think he's a werewolf. What? And then I was, and it was like, all right, so that sucked. Like, I ended up being the seer another time, and I'm like, my two guesses, like the first two night phases, I guessed who the werewolves were, and then I was like going, he's a werewolf. People were going, do you think so? I don't know. Maybe I think it's this guy, and I'm like, well, I mean, I can't say that I'm the seer because then the werewolves will kill me. Like, but it was like, him? Yep. And then the next phase, him? Yep. So I was like going, him. Okay, you want to kill the other guy. All right, fine. I still think it's him. We should really go for him. And I also think it's this guy because I know those are the two werewolves. Like,
Yeah.
It was, but yeah, it was cool. Like I could definitely, it makes me kind of want to try, I definitely want to try the Wolves of Mercia game. That seems like a more in-depth version of Werewolf. I would like to try Werewords, like with the kids, where it's you're not just trying to pin out, like figure out who exactly is the werewolves, but you're trying to figure out the word, the like mystery magic word, and it's timed and stuff. And it makes me really want to try out Secret Hitler with a good group because that seems much more entertaining as far as the social deduction construct goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the gaming that I did.
It's not too shabby.
Well, I mean, in 2 weeks, I played I played two new games. I played Merlin and I played Werewolf. And other than that, I was like, I played a few like classics.
Yeah. I didn't get as much gaming in during the holidays as I'd like either.
I did much better over Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Surprisingly, so did I. Speaking of the holidays, did you guys get any new games, or do you have any new games on the way?
I forgot what I have on the way.
That's not hard to do, Russ, when you have
like
a truckload.
I think I have, yeah. So, and then I got a bunch of new ones, some that we've already played. So, played Mystery House last night.
How was it?
I really enjoyed it. And part of me doesn't know if I enjoyed it really as a father or like the gameplay, because you put it on the table and then you have an app, and we had the music going and we had just the game table lights on, and it was hard to see through. So we got flashlights, and my 3 kids were
so that's the one with like the 3D house that you're like looking in the windows and stuff, right?
Really cool way. Probably my favorite escape room thing so far, because it's not so much escape room. It was like really story driven in this house. You're trying to solve a mystery. Man, and my 3 kids, they were really into it. So
that's cool.
My mom and me kind of sat back and just, like, we were into it. We were having fun, but it was cool watching them. So we really enjoyed that.
What would you say is the like the game to gimmick ratio on that one?
I mean, there's a gimmick, but
well, there's certainly a gimmick. That's why I'm asking. Like, is it does it have legs because it's a game, or is it something that like everyone should play once?
It's very much escape room, and you get to play each scenario once. So it's like it's like buying an exit. I prefer this over like an exit because it has kind of the house, and it's a different approach. Like, you've got to see what you can see by looking through little windows, and then you put in.
So there's different scenarios that all use that one house. So, like, the house is like a console, so it's probably easy to expand on it.
Yeah. And there's one already in the app that I can't seem to buy anywhere. The game comes with 2 and the console. So for $30 you get the console and 2 scenarios, which was pretty good.
Right on.
So we played.
How long was the scenario?
You have a time limit of 60 minutes.
Okay. Same as a general exit or unlock.
Yeah, we beat it, I think, in a little bit less, but we had a lot of penalties, so we technically didn't. So our play was right around 60 minutes, but which, I don't know, maybe I'm bad at that, but I don't usually worry about the time. It's more the whole
right.
Well, if you started worrying about the time, you wouldn't have AP.
Yeah. So, like, we're going to take it, the scenario we played, we're going to take it tomorrow night to New Year's Eve and let others play it. So,
right on.
I mean, really enjoyed it. Got my one son Jetpack Joyride, like the app. The kids love it. I did not like it because I'm terrible at it. I was going to say, just
the look on your face as soon as you started talking about it.
I'm just not good at it. So, like, I'll still play it, but it's kind of this race with pieces, and, like, I'm not as fast as they are. So, you got to build a path, but you can't go through, much like the video game. So,
the only game I got for Christmas was Twice as Clever, and my wife actually gave that to me like a week before Christmas. She bought it, and I came home, and she was like, she hands me this small box that's wrapped up, and she goes, "Here, open this." Okay. She's like, "I have to give it to you now because you might get it before Christmas." And I'm like, all right. So I open it, and I was like, you were onto something. That might have happened before Christmas. She was like, "Yeah, I hate buying stuff for you because I can't buy games for you and expect that it'll last until Christmas."
Yeah.
And then I also used some, like, my father-in-law gave me a gift card, and I used that to pre-order Sanctum. And I want to say that along with that pre-order, I threw in Land, Air, and Sea. Not Heroes of.
I was about to say, what?
No, the card game based on, like, World War II. I've just heard a lot of really good things about it being a fairly simple, quick playing, like, one-on-one card game that sounds really good. And then Sanctum is like, it looks like Diablo, but a board game.
Right.
And
I've heard good things about it.
My wife loves
videos on it.
My wife loves Diablo. I honestly can't think of another board game where you're like killing stuff and looting and getting gear and, like, doing that like grind that you do with Diablo to then, like, go after the boss.
I think,
and it was designed by the same dude that did Adrenaline, which Adrenaline is
a good one. I think it's a little underrated.
Adrenaline's really fun, but Adrenaline is like if you were to make a first person I mean, I guess more accurately a third person shooter, because you're obviously not seeing through the little miniature's eyes, so it's not really a first person shooter, but it's a shooter game, like an arena shooter game in a board game. And I've only played it a couple of times. I have it, but it's really, really fun. So I was like, same designer, basing it off of another, like, video game genre that I really like. It sounds like it'll be a really fun kind of play loop essentially, like Diablo is. My wife loves Diablo. I'm in. Let's do it. And
Sure.
like I've actually been like that one got my attention like a few months ago. If I would have gone to any of the big conventions where like what's available in limited quantities, that would have probably been a high priority for me. But it looks like it's going to be officially released toward the end of January, beginning of February. So that's one that I'm definitely excited about.
Nice.
I'm excited in the play that at least the reviews I've seen that people like about it is kind of that ability to build your character up in like different ways. Like pick and choose how you want to.
I want to say there's like 7 different equipment slots,
right.
And then your character has like 3 different skill trees that you can level up. Like there's a lot of like really good customization options in it.
So
that's cool, and the art looks amazing as well.
Yeah, it looks like Diablo.
Right.
Like,
right.
It's just I'm really excited to, and I think that my wife will really dig it.
We got one of my early Christmas presents in with On Tour. What did you think of that? Because I know you've wanted to play that.
Yeah, I liked On Tour quite a bit. I like the simplicity of it as far as understanding the game, at least what to do mechanically. But like you said, toward the end of the game, you get the headache of not knowing where the hell to put those numbers.
You get like halfway through and it's like, oh, this is really light, really fun. And then like that second half is like, oh crap, where am I going to put this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the perfect number.
About
Wait,
lining
I can't
it
put
up.
that there because I can't get the card.
So is 2020 going to end up being the year of the Roland rights for us, or is that going to like? Are we going to burn ourselves out in the first?
I think
quarter?
I got my 2 rolling rights. Like, I don't plan on getting any more.
Once we play cartographers, you might.
Well, that's a flipping right? Technically,
sure.
I mean,
so
technically,
same difference.
Right. Yeah. So
you're already making excuses to buy it. You haven't even played it. I like your style, Russ. It's a flipping right. It's not a rolling right, so it's fine.
And Welcome 2 falls into that category as well.
Yeah,
so.
Welcome 2. That's flipping right. Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't. Yeah, Welcome 2's kind of been on my radar too. But I will say, I've kind of avoided some of the rolling rights. I did want On Tour, so that was the first one I got because I'm a sucker for art, and that was like, I've had my eye on it for a long time, and we had the holidays coming up where I know I'm going to have big groups, and it was like, I can buy 12 boards. I'm going to do it. And I did it, and then you guys talked me into Clever. That was that's a thing.
It's like he's blaming us.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah.
So
they are pretty cool.
What about you? What'd you get?
I ended up with some decent games. I ended up with Wendake, which is a worker placement with the many different tribes of the Great Lakes area.
We gotta play that one, man.
Yeah, that's based on like the Native American theme, right?
Yeah. And
every time I look at it or hear the name, I think to myself, like the word is just similar enough to Wendigo, and I'm like,
me too.
Let there be that in it, and it sounds like that's not a thing at all with it. I'm like, let this be like the Native American horror game that needs to happen, and I don't think that's what's happening.
No, not quite. But the way that they lay out the actions in it is really unique. They've got like the as far as I know, I haven't played it yet, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you've got like 9 different actions that you can do, and they'll be shifting throughout the game. So there's going to be this ever revolving option for what you're going to be able to do every turn, and you can upgrade those things. And if you upgrade something but you want that thing back, you can buy it back too. So it's not like it's gone forever, it seems like it has a lot of flexibility in what you can do, and it's unique in the way that they execute it. So I'm interested to try it out myself.
I'm so glad you picked
really cool.
up that copy.
Me too.
Because I had my eyes on it for so long and just couldn't pull the trigger every time because either money or some kind of thing like that. So I was very glad that Tyler ended up with it.
Yep. And then I ended up with the 2-player game Stronghold 2nd edition.
See, I didn't even realize that was only a 2-player.
Yeah, I want to try that. I was really like eyeballing the new Stronghold Undead that was on Kickstarter a month or so ago, 2 months ago. I was really, really eyeballing that, and I ended up not grabbing it. I don't remember why. It might have just been because I've got claustrophobia. Do I really need another big, giant 2-player miniatures strategy game? Like,
What type
Is there
of game
minis in the new one?
I think so.
What
'Cause
type of
this one
game is
doesn't.
Stronghold?
It's like a sort of like a tower defense, I guess.
Well,
Kind of.
so
One player is.
it's a tower defense where one person is defending the tower and the other person is attacking it.
Okay.
From what I understand.
Yep,
I know with
exactly.
the undead one person plays like an army of zombies that is attacking the castle, and the other person
that's
is
pretty
playing.
cool. So someone control, not claustrophobia, but some, because obviously you probably have more
Yeah.
attacking, but that sounds interesting.
And I
It
want
looks
to
really
say
cool.
it's got like some Euro-y type of mechanics too.
Yeah,
right?
it definitely does. It's got some really cool art as well, and then some different unique options with like little trebuchets and stuff like that, so you can upgrade weapons and get different items to try to knock down the doors or whatever. But it looks pretty heavy too, as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
Based on how much I
The
love
rules go.
claustrophobia, with a 2-player game type of thing like that, I'd love to try that one.
yeah, me too.
I want to try it out so that way I can start kicking myself in the ass for not getting Stronghold Undead.
I've seen the second edition or the upgrade pack for the second edition for the zombie one fairly cheap recently too, like $30 for the original printing. So if I
Right
see
on.
it for that cheap again, might as well just pick it up.
Yeah.
And then I ended up with I got a really good deal on Porta Nigra. It was like $5 on Cool Stuff Inc. one day, so I snagged it, and the next day it jumped up to 50. So I felt really good about
Yeah.
picking that one up. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've heard good things. It's a Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling vehicle, so
Yeah. I've
sounds
heard good things, but
neat.
I don't know much more than people like it.
Yep.
Like, so
It looks pretty cool. It's it's a 2 to 4 player thing that everybody's trying to gain as many points as they can. It almost just at first glance kind of has like a Santorini look to it because you're building
Yeah.
up different towers and trying to get up high up on the thing, and
that sounds cool.
so. But other than that, like I said, I got Merlin and Firefly Adventures from Gale Force 9.
Is that the miniatures?
brown coats and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to try that one. It's a co-op, right? And you can play solo.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
snagged
seems
that
cool.
one.
I've watched some playthroughs of that. It seemed
It looks
Good.
awesome. It
Yeah.
actually has cards for Firefly itself as well. Some additional little bonus cards for some of that.
nice.
And then I used some Christmas money to pre-order
Yes.
On Mars from
cannot
Vital
wait.
Lacerda.
I don't think I've ever been excited for someone to get a game that's not me. But
I know, huh?
I want to play that game so bad. I'm on a Discord
Me
channel
too.
that like everybody keeps posting their plays of that, and I'm like, no one in our group has that one. What the heck is going on?
And I found it on a website called The Game Steward, which I
Yeah.
think I'll probably be looking at more than I need to. But I'm getting the deluxe Kickstarter edition as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that entails versus the regular retail copy, but we'll find out
I've
when I
looked
do
at
get it.
a number of games from them. I've never pulled the trigger because of either found it somewhere else or something else. I think you've ordered from them, haven't you, Ken?
From who?
The Game Steward?
Game Steward?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. So I ordered a bunch of Cthulhu Wars factions from the Game Steward, and they were really cool, and they were really pretty patient with me being kind of a pain in the ass, because they like I mentioned earlier, like Peterson Games doesn't hit deadlines. They don't do that. So Game Steward was
They
expecting.
like to advertise games that they don't have anything of, but that's another subject.
Well, there's a Kickstarter coming. You'll be able to get them. You'll be fine. But so with that, the printing where I pre-ordered those factions from, instead of waiting and tacking them onto more recent Kickstarters and waiting for a whole other printing, I pre-ordered them, and their like predicted time was, whatever, and kind of went past that. And then I got an email saying, like, here's your shipping notice. And I was like, sweet. Week goes by. Check. Still no info on it. Another week goes by. Check. Like, clicking the link on that email, like going, all right, so what's going on? Still nothing. I messaged them. I'm like, so, what's up? Like, it said that my package is shipped, but there's no shipping info. And they were like, we printed the labels expecting them to be in, and the container, like, we were given incorrect information, and the container, we still don't have it in our possession yet, and it's been really frustrating, and we're really sorry. They were totally chill. It was kind of a shit situation for them because I got annoying. Like, I got to where I was like messaging them like every week going, so what's up? Anything? Like, why did you print off this shipping label 3 weeks early? You know? But they were really cool about it. And in the end, they were like, they were totally patient with me and explained what was going on. And they were great. I was really happy with, what by all accounts would have been a shitty transaction.
Yeah.
I was still quite happy with them. They were very, like, totally professional, totally chill.
That's
really
cool.
Patient
It's interesting because I actually was reading through reviews of the Game Steward before I pulled the trigger and ordered it, and I read a review that was almost exactly what you just said about Cthulhu Wars, that somebody else had complained in almost the same capacity, and they were saying how, I was kind of getting short with them, and eventually when they had it, they sent it to me and everything was immaculate. It was wonderful. It was fine. And I almost felt bad because I was being a jerk about it. And
yeah. I wasn't. I don't feel like I was ever like a jerk about it. And there. I remember there was one evening they got back to me kind of late, and I was like laying in bed, and I was just like going, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And they start talking. They're like going, "We're really sorry." And I was like, "Hey, man, I get it. Like, you're essentially like." You're between me and Kickstarter, and I know how unpredictable Kickstarter is. So, like, try not to read any extra negativity.
Sure.
I'm like, I want my toys.
Makes me wonder how much they were dealing with all the other people being assholes.
I bet they were getting so much shit from so many people. Like, because it was frustrating. It sucked.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, once they explained it to me, I was like, well, that sucks. And, I'm going to touch base with you every so often and just see if there's new information, because what I had was a shipping notice, but it was like, okay, now you've told me that you don't even have the container yet. When do you think you'll get the container? Another week or two? In a month? Like, what are we talking here? You say it's coming in 2 weeks. Cool. 2 weeks from there. So what's the status on that container? It's in customs, and apparently it's taking longer than expected. We're probably looking at another week. All right, cool. Hit him back in another week.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Actually, we're getting it tomorrow, and we'll be shipping them out. It'll probably be another 3 days before yours is on the road. All right, cool. Like, they were, once there was that initial, like, me going, hey, what's going on with my stuff? And them going, whoa, we're really, really sorry. I was like, hey, all right, it's cool. Like, I get it, man. You guys are doing your thing.
Yeah. But, the fact that they were interactive, that makes it a lot easier as a buyer to at least know what's going on, to stay in the loop somewhat. It's extremely helpful.
And I want to say I actually got Gorus Maximus through them with zero issue, like none at all. Like, that was, just an immaculate transaction. They were great.
That's awesome.
You did, because I almost did the same. So
don't tell Russ, but they have the deluxe edition of Crusaders.
Really?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have told me that either.
Somebody has to get it in this group.
That's funny, because that is that game that I'm like, I want the deluxe, and I have zero intention of getting rid of my other copy.
No. I can appreciate that.
So I picked up, I played a game, a friend brought up over a game that was not on my shelves that I had no interest in. It was Formula D. He's been wanting to play it a long time. He picked it up at the used board game sale. I took him there, and he picked it up and played it. I picked it up the next day. So it was pretty fun. It's a roll and move, but like, you shift gears, and then you have to choose which level dice you want. but if you go too aggressive, you take damage in your car. The basic play where it's just like 18 damage, it's okay with 2 players, but where it has like damage laid out and it's more asymmetrical, that's what really hooked me, because it felt like I was going into corners, downshifting hard so I could make it in effect. Like, really enjoyed that game. And it goes up to 10 players, so that's why I was like, oh, those nights where we have the high player count, this is a good one where we could kind of enjoy all together. Instead of only splitting up, we could also play high player count. So
yeah,
that's cool. Well, didn't you also get Freshwater Fly?
I did. That was the one that I didn't buy myself, but I had told my mom I wanted it, and so I didn't buy it. So I've wanted that. So now I have my hiking and fly fishing to take up to the cabin.
So now all we need is good weather.
Yeah, which is funny because now my brother-in-law, we're big fly fishermen, and so he's somewhat of a gamer, and he's like, or he's starting to like games. He's like, so we're gonna go fly fishing on New Year's Eve, right? For tomorrow night. So
yeah,
we're gonna play that tomorrow.
Now we
also played.
They need to make like a game based off of the horror movie from a few years back, Cabin in the Woods. That way he doesn't even have to go to a cabin anymore. He's like, all right, we're gonna go camping at the cabin. We're gonna go fly fishing, and we're gonna go for a hike, and we're gonna do that all over the next 3 hours in the basement.
Isn't that awesome. What Campy Creatures is for? You can do that too?
No, Campy Creatures is more...
Yeah, that's more of a laboratory, isn't
monster,
it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is, so his family's really into Catan. His teenage son loves Catan, so that's where I get a lot of Catan play in. We got them Rise of the Incas, one of the Catans.
Okay.
And they wanted to play it right away. It was funny. We were opening gifts, and my nephew, who's 16, was like kind of opening gifts, and then their family opened up Catan, and he like sat up all excited, like, oh really? We're gonna play that right now, right? And Rise of the Incas was surprisingly fun. I actually want it for my own collection now, even though it's just Catan, because instead of racing to like the 9 or 10 points, whatever you do in Catan, you get to a certain point and then your tribes die or they fall and you have to build them back up. You do that 3 times, but your old tribes stay on the map. So there's a lot more strategy and like kicking people off of the stuff that's giving them stuff. And so it's fun. But
that's cool.
I think you should get a tattoo on the back of your hand that reminds you that you're allowed to play other people's copies of board games. That way, when you go to the store and you're like, I need to buy this because I just played someone else's copy, and you go to reach for it, you'll see on the back of your hand, it will say, I can play someone else's copy too.
I did that
They're perfectly functional.
I did that today.
You played someone else's copy of a game?
Azul was on sale on Amazon, and I was like, and I talked myself out of it. I was like, nope, people have it. I don't need it.
Successfully did that. That's 1 out of what, like 40?
Yeah, and then I bought a different game like 15 minutes later.
Is it one that I own?
No, I don't think anyone owns it.
Weird.
So I don't think so.
So probably Zach.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think Zach does own it. So. But that's okay.
That's awesome. So it sounds like we need to dip into some resolutions, and we already know what one of Russ's should be.
My resolution, I already told my wife, is play more than I buy.
Did you hear that subconscious come out there?
Yeah, no, that is what they call a Freudian slip.
Yeah,
where you're trying to say one thing, but what you actually mean comes out instead.
Like you have room to talk. I think you buy more than I do. I'm sure of it.
The last game that I bought for myself, I believe, was That's Pretty Clever, and that was like a month ago. See, when I was working all the time and didn't have time to play, yeah, I was buying games. Now, I've got a little more time to play. I'm not working as much, so I don't have quite as much disposable income. I have mellowed out on the buying.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah, I know.
I think I'm going to limit myself to 2 a month. That actually... saying that causes me a little bit of stress and anxiety. And except for conventions, I'll make exception. But part of me is like, I don't know if I can do that because I know I'm going to get in to where it's like, I need that game, but I don't need it. It's okay.
See,
I have open slots on my new 5x5 Kalax, so aren't I supposed to buy games to fill it up?
See, I think that, I mean, we were kind of talking about it earlier. You know, I think that you should replace some of your like shopping research with gameplay for the games that you own, maybe some strategy, stuff like that, you know, like engage in that type of board game media. I also think that you should listen to a bit more of the critical analysis than just the praise. And honestly, I was thinking about it, and it's something that I've kind of started doing for myself, much more on a subconscious level, and very much informal. But I think that you should get yourself like a checklist or like a spreadsheet, and for every like 1 point against a game, you should be looking for at least 5 for it. You know, like for example, with Sanctum, my wife's gonna dig it, or my wife loves Diablo, so I think she's gonna dig it. I honestly can't think of another game quite like it where you're going through and gathering up gear. You know, I mean, it's like the character customization and development of almost like Gloomhaven, but without the commitment of a damn legacy game. Like the killing and getting gear and stuff like that, that kind of like action RPG grind is something that I don't have. And I like the designer, and I like his last game based on a video game. And the only negative, I've heard that replayability could be limited, but I also like have played through the entire story of Diablo 3 like 4 times, so I'm not too concerned about like that type of game losing replayability. And honestly, I mean, there's so many of my games that I've either played once or 0 times that replayability, it's hard to call that actually a negative.
Yeah,
you know?
I think
good point.
But I mean, I thought of all these different things about it that appealed to me to counteract the only negative that I heard, you know. And I mean, listening to it, you know, there's plenty of people out there who would go, you know, you have to roll certain dice and you're trying to get certain numbers to defeat the monsters, and you know, like there's things that maybe people wouldn't like, but there are things that there's like a good 4 or 5 points that I could think of, specific things that I could write down that sound great, and the only one that didn't sound great was the replayability. You know, and that's, I mean,
which
also,
I think is overblown sometimes, because
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many of my games that I've played once or 0 times that it's like how big of a deal is replayability for me personally? Like, for real, you know?
Yeah.
If it takes an hour plus, which most games do, that hurts replayability. You know, I mean, look at how often we play Twilight Imperium. We like
not
unanimously enough. We love that game, but it's such a time commitment. It's hard to get it to the table. You know, so
I realize that I one of my purchasing habits is I'm trying to find the perfect game for
every situation
and every person that I associate with. Like for my mother-in-law, oh, this would be perfect for this group with this kind of people.
Right.
And to be honest, I have a lot of that already in my shelves, and I don't need to keep doing that as much. Which probably wouldn't be the problem if I'd cull my collection a little bit, but I can't. I can't do that.
Are you worried that at some point you're going to get to a point where your mother-in-law comes over and you go, I have like 9 games for you to choose from. I think they will all be great for you. And she'll look at them and be like, that's, I don't know. Nah, that's a lot. I don't want to even deal with that. That's too many games.
That's what the game bag's for. Yeah. I every time I go somewhere, I have that game bag, and I have this box full of bag full of games, and people are like, why that whole game? We don't need that many games. No, but we have choices now.
Yeah, what are you in the mood for?
Yeah.
Definitely. For me, I'm going to start tracking stats. It's something that I started a little bit towards the end of the year, and mostly just based on your guys' influence. I sit and see you guys flipping through stats, and you have real accurate numbers about things, and I feel like it would be beneficial not only for the podcast, but for me to see what my investments are, being utilized in what capacity. And I think that, on top of that, I'd like to play at least 100 games in 2020. Whether they're the same game 100 times, obviously that's not going to happen, but I'd like to play 100 games
you could play the
this
same
year.
game 100 times.
I don't have a wingspan in my life.
We're not going to hit that 100, by the way. I told my wife, we're not going to hit that 100 unless you're willing to play Wingspan 14 times in the next day. She's like, we can play it a couple times over the next few days. I don't know if we'll hit 14.
Wah, wah, wah.
Just get other people to play it.
Yeah.
So did you set up that like challenge? Because I use my board game stats app to track challenges for myself. So did you set it up with that, or?
No, it's just kind of a general attempt at reaching 100 games. I do have the app tracking my plays now, and I've been more strict about doing that.
You should see if your app, like if you can put challenges in there. Because so the other night, because I've done challenges for myself this year. I want to say I may have tried to do a challenge last year. I've yet to actually successfully do it and complete any of the things that I've challenged myself to. And in spite of that, I keep raising the bar on myself,
right?
Because that's the kind of person I am. Hey, I didn't quite do it. Let's make it harder next time. I failed. Yeah, too easy. But like, so yeah, in 2018, I had a 10 by 10 challenge, which is play 10 games 10 times each.
Yeah.
Which
Do you pick the games beforehand?
No, I have not done that. I thought about doing that, but after that first year, I realized that my gaming is like the nature of my gaming is too chaotic for me to want to try and do something like that. And I don't quite get to play enough to set that bar, Eventually I'd like to get there. I'd like to get to where I have like a set like hardcore 10 by 10. Like I want to play these 10 games at least 10 times throughout the year. This year that we're ending tomorrow, I had 2 challenges. I had a 10 by 10 again, which I came up even shorter than I did in 2018. In 2018,
crazy.
I ended at 59%, and this year, unless something changes in the one remaining day, it's looking like I'm ending at 48%. And then I also had a play 100 or 150 plays. I wanted to get 150 games played. Not individual games, but like 150 plays.
Right.
And I'm ending up at 90% on that one. And
that's not bad.
No, that's not bad. Like, and the thing is, I essentially wasn't playing for half the year, and,
right.
And in that second half of the year, there was quite a few times that, in the first half of the year, I missed all of our Friday night game nights where we would usually play a lot of games. And then in the second half of the year, when I was able to start going to the Friday night game nights, me and you started playing on some Saturdays, Tyler.
Yeah.
And then me and Alex started playing on some Sundays. And it was like, if I could incorporate those, like, those aren't as consistent as the Friday nights, but if I can incorporate those, I could do much better. So for 2020, I set myself up another 10 by 10 challenge because I'm going to do it one day. I'm going to play 10 games 10 times. And then I set up 200 plays instead of just 150.
Yeah.
I came close enough that I feel like 200 is fairly attainable. And I also did 100 new games challenge. I want to try 100 new games in 2020.
That's awesome.
See, I want to,
and based on our
do 100 new game challenge, but the
this
opposite.
month. Oh,
well, no, because I'm at 127 new games was it 127? Yeah, 127 new games this year, and I would like to, although I really love playing new games, kind of hold that back and increase my
play no more than 100 new games.
Which is hard because I do love playing new games, but I think our Friday nights when we play so many new games, we don't get as much play time as we do rule time.
Yeah.
And I really love the game nights where it's like 4 or 5
game
games
after game.
Everybody knows.
For sure.
I love those nights.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to play, really, I want to play new games, and I set that as a challenge to play 100 new games.
You could probably do that right off of your shelf.
I was going to say, based off your Shelf of Opportunity episode, I think you're about 3/4 of the way there if you just keep it at home.
Yeah. So that's part of it, is to help blast through my Shelf of Shame.
That's awesome.
And then it's also like, how many episodes do people want to listen to us talking about Teotihuacan, Quacks of Quedlinberg, and Crusaders?
Right.
Like how often is that same show going to be entertaining? So it's to help get through my Shelf of Shame and also to continue bringing new content for the show.
Absolutely. Right. And that's kind of what I'm reaching for with the, play at least 100 games in 2020. Ideally, I'd like to play everything that I've got on my Shelf of Opportunity, and then at least half of what Kenneth's got on his. And, Russ is already back down to like 10 that he hasn't played on his Shelf of Opportunity.
I really work to keep mine down, which is kind of a challenge. My family gets sick of me talking about games and begging them to play games, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I know I have games on your guys' shelves that I'm dying to get to the table.
This is true.
Yeah.
Anachrony, turtles. Yeah.
I like turtles.
Well, another thing that I think might help me here at home is I'd like to modify my game table and kind of build my own game table, kind of like what you've got. I don't think it'll take too much. Obviously, it's not going to be as big, but I don't quite have the space for it for now. And I'm gonna reorganize the studio and the paint station. I built an easel for my wife so that she could do canvas painting a couple of years ago, and the art office shares the washer and dryer, and it's basically just become junk room number 2. So I gotta help clean that up so that we can do that together.
Yeah.
Because I don't paint enough when it comes to minis, and she's never used the damn easel that I built. So I've got to get this, ball rolling, so to speak, so that we can both enjoy some of that time.
Yeah, that's another goal of mine. And this sounds like not a huge goal, but I want to fully complete painting 2 games. I want to complete more, but the games that I'm talking about,
they're 50 to 60 minis at the minimum. Yeah.
Something like Rising Sun, where I'm halfway done. I'm not counting that, but I'd love to finish Hate or Death May Die, which Death May Die doesn't have a ton of minis, but
there's a lot of detail on those things. So
I really want to finish my games so I don't have that lingering, which is another problem with buying more games.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would like to also go to more conventions. I've only been to the one as of right now with TimpCon. I do have one scheduled for January coming up that my work is going to be sending me to, which will be fun. But it's more minis and wargaming based, just based on the type of work that I do. But it'll still be fun to go out and mix and mingle with some other gamers and learn some more Warhammer and all of that, which it'll be cool because I own some of it, but I've never played Warhammer. But on top of that, I know that I want to go to SaltCon, and I'd love to hit up TimpCon again.
Yeah, I'd like to go to TimpCon again.
So
for sure.
At the very least, I'd like to hit up 3, maybe more, ideally more. Something else, like bigger.
I'm trying to prioritize making it to SaltCon because I've wanted to go for the last 3 years, and stuff has just kind of been in the way. And I mean, just this year there was for the spring SaltCon, the big one, which is right around my birthday, which is even more annoying. It's like, for my birthday, I want to do this. And then something comes up and I'm like, well, I guess my birthday doesn't matter. Actually, this year, or this coming year, 2020, it's March 5th through the 8th, from my birthday to my wife's.
Nice.
But yeah, this past year for the spring one, I ended up doing a tree climbing competition in Arizona that weekend. For the summer one, I was doing the tree climbing competition here in Utah. And then for the fall one, no one went. Like none of our friends even bothered to go to that one because it's small and they had already gone to two of them. So, and I want to say I ended up working that weekend anyways. So like I let work, I mean, it's an investment. I care about my career,
Sure.
you know, but this year I intend to swing the pendulum a little closer to center where like the stuff I want to do also matters.
Nice.
And I want to prioritize a little bit of my own stuff that's outside of work. I have already started my own version of Russ's main resolution. I don't do the New Year's resolutions. I don't like the idea of it.
No.
I think the idea that you need to pick one day to better yourself seems defeatist and short-sighted to me. Like it's always a good day to improve. So I have already done what would probably be my biggest New Year's resolution and been more careful about my purchasing. I look not just for any game that seems like I should play it, but I'm looking, when a game catches my eye, I'm looking for problems with it.
Right.
I'm comparing it to what I've already got. You know, there's actually a game on Kickstarter right now called like Sins. It's a card game. It looks beautiful. It's a deck builder.
You're not backing that?
It looks fairly simple and it's cheap. And it's like, okay, I could back this, but I don't need another deck builder. The last game that I bought because it looked really pretty, that was a small card game that was like,
oh, I got that coming too.
That was relatively cheap.
God, I won that.
What?
London.
Terrors of London.
I thought that's what you were going to talk about.
Not even that one. That's just one of the many deck builders I own that also happens to have really good art. That is also just a 2-player deck builder. I was actually thinking just the last game that I bought because the art was really cool. That's a card game. It's called Realm. And as far as like the gameplay goes, I don't know because I haven't played it yet. And then the one before that I bought because of art. How's that one? Gloom of Kilforth. Never played it. Russ says it's great, but I've still never played it. So I'm going, all right.
Okay, full
it's
honesty
a deck builder
here. Huh. I did not back Sins because I figured you were.
Dude, I was kind of going back and forth, but at the end of the day, one, I'm not going to pay the $19.
Right.
I would get the all in, especially where there's an uncensored NSFW version. It's going to have boobs. And I'm a big fan. So like if I'm going to get it, I'm going to end up getting the like $100 version or $80 version or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's no longer a cheap game. And then it's a deck builder that
nothing catches your eye different.
No, it's a really pretty game, but it's a deck builder. And if you've paid attention to the campaign, they said that there was going to be a gameplay video out, and they haven't put one out. So it's like, okay, are you trying to hide poor gameplay behind the beautiful art, which is entirely possible. And it's something that I'm not going to say that I've fallen for that before, because the games that I've bought for art, I haven't played. So for me, I don't need another deck builder. As cool as the theme is, there's plenty of evil games out there. As far as art goes, that doesn't carry a game to the table. It just carries it to my shelf. So
yeah,
I'm refraining. I don't need it. I'm not doing it. With Sanctum, that's something that I've been looking at for a while.
Yeah.
I kind of broke that down. That's,
I like
that
that 5-to-1 approach.
Yeah. I mean, and it's roughly, but
sure.
like and I've also looked at like, just if today, so like if I didn't already have it, and today I was looking at the newest edition of Arkham Horror, like the full miniatures game, and Mansions of Madness, I would have to look at those and be like, okay, what are you bringing to the table that Cthulhu Death May Die isn't? Because I've already played that. It's super easy to set up. It plays relatively fast, and people already like it. Convince me. You've got competition,
right?
You know? And that's kind of been my approach as of late as far as buying games goes. The last game that and it was a thing that I have done many times. I hear about a game, I look into it for 20 minutes, and then I buy it. I've done that many, many times now. And there's a reason that I have so many games on my shelf of fame. when you're buying a game based off of like a couple of sentences that catch your ear, and then giving it a cursory look really quick, and then just buying it, you end up with a whole bunch of shit that's on your shelf. I mean, it might be good shit, it might be bad shit, but it's on your shelf. The last game that I bought in a hurry, it was because I couldn't think of a negative. It sounded great. It's different. I don't have anything that compares to it in my collection. That's Zoocracy. It's a straight up politics game with elections and like campaign promises, and
yeah,
it sounds like it'll be really fun with our group. We'll be yelling at each other. I like hearing about the game, the way that it's played, and the bit of research that I did. I was like, okay, I could see this fitting in the same that feeling as like Sidereal Confluence, where
sure,
the game gets crazy. So I was like, I'll buy it. Yet to play it, but this last month our game nights have been kind of wacky.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you know, I've decided to be a lot more. It's not necessarily even that I'm trying to buy less. I'm just trying to be more intentional.
Which, like, the hobby's grown, right? There are so many good games, not just games coming out, but so many really good games coming out all the time that it's really hard to not just want to buy everything. I put in my research. For me, it's mostly like, oh, this is like on tour. I've wanted that for months. I'm going to finally pull the trigger. And then there's some that it's like, I have money now. I've heard good things about this one, and I need to do less of that. Like deck builders, I love deck builders. But if I get a deck builder, that means I'm not going to play my favorite deck builder as often, which is already not enough.
Especially where your favorite deck builder has the worst. It's a
for sure.
terrible theme.
Yeah.
I mean, trains are fine. I've got nothing against like trains as a concept, but like they don't grab me.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that instead of playing
Cthulhu, the deck building game, which I really like that you have.
Yeah, Cthulhu deck builder, Hero Realms, the Harry Potter deck builder, Legendary even, Terrors of London. You want to play a train game. Trains, instead of any of those things that we just named. And that's just getting started. I haven't even gotten the Gwar one. Do you think that we will ever play trains over Gwar? Because we won't, because it's Gwar. Yeah. So I get what you're saying. Like it's hard.
I hope that comes with blood packs.
I feel like the right way to do it would be just be DIY. You got to DIY
Sure.
that stuff.
Seems fair.
So speaking of conventions, I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I want to go out of state to a convention.
Yeah, I want to go to
Especially
Origins.
at some point, I would like us to go to a convention for the podcast.
I've been interacting with the guys at the Secret Cabal, particularly Chris, a lot, because I've had some similar stuff come up this year that he's expressed that he's been, dealing with. We've kind of commiserated a little bit back and forth, but he was asking if I was going to Origins, and I was like, oh, I really want to. And now I want to even more because it'd be fun as hell to share a beer and play some games with the guys from the Secret Cabal.
Yeah.
That would be killer. That's a bucket list item. Not necessarily a resolution type thing, but that's more of a bucket list type of a thing. But as far as the resolutions, or I guess improvements, and mainly this is just kind of inspiration based on the first 3 or 4 months that we've been doing this. And that is, I want to interview some game designers. And Russ, you and I have talked about a couple of people that we've lined some of that up with, sort of. And I'd like to pursue that a little bit more seriously and actually either bring him into the studio or, you know, link up through Skype or whatever and lay out a couple of interviews. I think that'd be awesome to pick the brains of some of the people that we enjoy their designs.
Yeah. As far as the podcast goes, I want to do better at the social media part.
Yeah, and we need some written content. And I think with you wanting to do more, you know, the hidden gems type thing, why don't we do something like that? Have you write a hidden gems thing whenever, and then you can talk about it briefly on the podcast and say, if you want more information, check out what I've got written. And, you know, that could be helpful in many different ways. Another thing I want to do is upload reviews regularly to our YouTube channel. I want to start creating videos and doing that, because that's going to draw more attention to, you know, what we're doing here and what we can provide.
Right.
So
I want to take advantage of my portable recorder.
Yes.
And like basically just do something different than what we've been doing. Like
absolutely
continue doing this, obviously, but like, you know, if we play, you know, and obviously like go to a convention, do interviews, talk to people, you know, give our end of the day report, use the portable recorder to do that, because that's what it's there for. But also things like, you know, if we get a new game and we play it and we're like immediately going, oh man, I need, like, this is where I'm at with it. Like, do that hot take right then.
Here's my 2 cents.
Not just do the, you know, last weekend I played this game and it was kind of cool. I think you did this, you know, be like right in the moment. This is what we did. This is what just happened, you know?
That'd be cool.
I also think that like, with us all tracking our plays, it would be fun to have like a competition between us and keep track of like who wins the most when we're all playing. Like maybe, you know, even more like smaller scale, like, because we don't all three always end up playing together, but you know, maybe I beat Russ more when it's just me and Russ, but Tyler beats me, but Russ beats Tyler. But when we're all together, Tyler beats both of us more, like, you know, and just kind of track that stuff, and maybe even like have fun wagers, or if the listeners were interested, have like some sort of prizes, you know, quarterly or whatever, like pick who's the overall winner out of us.
Yeah.
You know, if I was better at the resolution thing, I might have a thing in place and an idea, but it's literally just an outline. So don't be looking for an announcement just yet, but that might be something that we could do.
That kind of leads into what else I've put on my list here, and that's get more feedback from the audience. I want to get some more feedback from the listeners, and you know, anybody that wants to leave us feedback, you know, send us an email at thelategamepodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on the website or Facebook or Instagram. We have a tendency to post a lot of visual stuff on Instagram as of right now. We got lots of good stuff of almost every play that we play together. I'm posting that on Instagram because not only have I gotten a good response from it, but it's just been fun to actually track it. And that's something that I need to track more through the tracking app, but I've done it visually and it's been fun to do that. So I'm adding to the fun that I'm having on Instagram. So
yeah. One of my big hopes that's a little bit less about the podcast. One of my big like hopes for the year. It's certainly not a goal. It's not a goal for me, but it's a hope. Is that my sister-in-law gets to where she can stand on her own and move out of my house, so I can create a dedicated gaming area. One, because I want a dedicated gaming area. And two, because it would be really nice to see her like blossom and succeed on her own and all of that, you know, like it is something that I hope for her that she isn't living in my basement. And I also hope for me that she isn't living in my basement. But
seems fair.
That's something that I'm not like, I may talk about it often, but I'm not like trying to push her out or anything. I want
Right.
her. I want her to do it right. At this point, I've invested too much time and money in her. I'm not willing to watch her fail. She has to succeed. And if that takes more time and more money, then I'll put it in, and we'll make sure she succeeds on her own. Damn it!
Right. That's awesome.
I'd like to finish my game table and have a play surface on it.
Yeah, I know. Like, can you imagine how cool it'll be for you to finally pick up all those cards that are stuck to it?
Yeah.
It'll be great.
I've started to move a playmat in when I have to, play
Use
with a lot of
cards?
Yeah. So,
That
chairs
seems
are
fair.
almost done. I got 2 left now that I figured out which height and everything. I want most of them. So,
Yeah.
I'd like the house remodel to get finished. Wonder
Yeah.
if that'll happen. Sure hope it'll happen within a year.
Yeah,
That'll be a miserable year.
Yeah, that doesn't seem unreasonable. You guys are already making pretty good progress.
So,
That's awesome. Another thing that I think could be beneficial is doubling the number of regular downloads by August 1st. That's something that I have as a goal for the podcast, and I'm going to continue to do everything I can to reach for that. I think uploading videos to YouTube is going to be extremely helpful. Interviewing game designers to get their influence and interest, and just spreading the word to other people who are already involved as much as they are in the hobby.
I think your
That would be
painting,
nice.
if we can get some painting videos of us, like, I know I'm not quite to the talent that you are, but I think it'll be good. I love watching painting videos. I think a lot of people do, so we need to get that going.
I do too. Yeah, I think it would be awesome to do, and moving things around, making more room. That
We'll get
will
Ken here
make
doing
it
some.
easy to actually facilitate such a thing.
What, like as an ego boost to you?
Nah.
No, just to get you involved so that you
Yeah.
can. I don't know. There's a lot of different techniques that can eliminate the need for that super technical thing that I started out being a little bit stressed out by.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool little techniques that I've learned along the way and kind of just figured out that save me a lot of time, that make it look satisfying. So, anything I can do to share.
For me, I think the challenge for like painting, because I love the idea of playing with a fully painted game, or all of my games being fully painted. I like that idea. But the little bit of painting that I've done, I don't love the process. And I don't like the situation would have to be right for me to want to do that over playing the game that I'm painting, or even playing my PlayStation or reading a book or something.
One of the things that I think would help that entire environment would be to do a paint and pints night, or a brews and brushes type thing, where we're incorporating a little bit of alcohol to make it not only funner, but also draw in more people. I know Alex has expressed some interest in doing that, and just getting a group of us, that sounds like a hell of a lot more fun.
Down and really enthusiastic about something like that if Russ is participating.
I'll have my soda.
We can always spike it.
Yeah. This week it's whiskey. Next week it's LSD.
That one will be on stream.
So for me, other than that, with the podcast, I just want to provide more information to the listeners. I am a connoisseur of the hobby, listening to stuff like you guys are, and I want to work on providing something a little bit different.
One thing I think we all should work on is saying the names of board games.
Yeah.
Like at the start of talking about it, at the end of talking about it, and maybe throw in once or twice in the middle.
Sure.
Yeah.
Most people are really bad about it because we essentially have a conversation that we record. And that's not how you speak in conversation. You don't keep repeating the same damn,
Right.
You don't keep repeating my Honda Civic, my Honda Civic, my Honda. You say my car. That's a normal thing. We played, awkward guess. Yeah, and when we played it, we did this, and then this happened at the end of it, and it was really fun, and we had a good time with it. That's how normal people talk. We don't go, yeah, we had a lot of fun with awkward guess, and it was really good playing awkward guess, and in awkward guess we did this, and then at the end it was a really great game of awkward guess, because that sounds really weird, but it makes for more informative and higher quality content, and I think that's something that we could all work on.
Sure, it's easier to follow up on, and to if you hear something that you're interested in, that's one thing that I've done listening to other people's podcasts. I've had to go to the very beginning of when they were talking about a game because I got so amped up about the way that they talked about it that I didn't know what the hell they were talking about, and then they moved on. And yes, I think we're all guilty of that, but again, this is a learning process, and I've tried to start with at least, mentioning designers and publishers and stuff like
you're
that
good
too,
at that.
because
I am not great at that.
it's helpful to share that information. I feel like they deserve the credit.
That's really cool, and frankly, I'm not going to do that because that's like, can't see it, but Tyler's the only one with a computer sitting in front of him right now. Me and Russ have our phones, and at a certain point, it gets somewhat cumbersome, but it's.
I think if there's things the listeners want out of the content, I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely.
Instead of, like I shared with you guys, I think there are, this time of year, there's a ton of top 10 lists, and I will consume probably most of them out there. Most of the top 10 lists, with the exception of probably 4 or 5 each, but probably 60 to 70% of all of those lists are pretty similar.
Yeah.
And that's because they're great games. And those games also get more traction because more people talk about them, so they're more on the forefront. There are great games that don't fall into that I don't think get enough talked about.
Sure.
So somewhat of, little hidden gems, games that, for me, a lot of them end up being those Kickstarters that are in that $20 to $30 range, or things I come across in the game shop that have a lower price point that look gorgeous.
Right.
Like before I got too much into the hobby, I picked up Evolution based completely on art. I didn't realize all the content that was out there for games to learn. And
did you back Oceans? Do you have Oceans coming? You didn't, huh?
I don't think he wants to talk about
back
it.
Oceans.
I did, and I had to back out. It was the only backing out that I actually sent information to the creator, like, your game's amazing, I just don't have the money.
I'm sorry, I'm broke.
I mean, really, that's what it came down to. It happened at a really just bad time, and I couldn't justify it. And
that happens.
I feel terrible because that game to me is one of the best out there, what it creates, and I love the oceans, so...
Well,
I purposely ignored when you guys were talking about that being shipped today on Discord, and I was like, I don't care. I don't want to listen. You guys are jerks.
Well, I made sure to bring it up here where you would have to respond to me.
But I would say, get your hands on Oceans if you can. The prototype was great, so.
That's awesome. Well, another thing that we're going to be doing a bit more of, because I've continued to reach out to other new designers and newer designers, is we're going to have more reviews coming of Kickstarters and games that are up and coming, things that are coming out. So, keep an eye out for that. And if you're a publisher or an up and coming designer or, whatever, let us know if we can help. We're almost always happy to help.
Yeah, I would like to see what we can do to help some of the local shops and that kind of stuff. I got to be honest, it's the only job I've actually thought about getting as a entertainment for myself is working in a game store. Like, for some reason, I really enjoy trying to sell games. It's odd. I can't explain it.
That sounds like the only possible job where you would actually lose money working.
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
Absolutely would.
Because you would spend every penny that you're getting from that job on more games. And you would spend some of your other money on games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, all it would do is take away the thing earlier where you said you wanted to play more and buy less. You'd just buy more.
Yeah.
And you'd have less time to play.
True. So, maybe add another game night. So, we have our Friday night game night.
There's only 7 days in a week.
I have a monthly Thursday night game night with some neighbors. I need to add another game night or two.
Yeah, that's something that like I intend to do if I get my gaming space figured out to where like I want to have a legacy night, and I would like to go through. I've got a few games that fit into that category, and I would like to go through those. And
I'd like to finish a legacy game.
I would like to feel like I've genuinely started and like gotten into one. I mean, I've played Gloomhaven like twice.
Yeah.
I've got Eon's End, which I love Eon's End, but I've got Eon's End Legacy sitting there doing nothing. I haven't even, because I want to do it right.
More D&D.
And Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
But yeah, I at one point I was talking to one of my coworkers, played Eon's End with me a couple of times. He really liked it, and my wife, and it was like, all right, we get to like a more mellow schedule where I'm not working 10-hour days and getting home at like 6 and then eating dinner and essentially like, eat dinner, take a shower and go to bed. Get to where I'm working 8s, getting home at like around 4. So there's a couple more hours. It was going to be like, Tuesdays, let's start, like he was going to start coming over on whatever day it was. And we were going to do that. And then work never really mellowed out. And now he's just gone to California to work. So it's like, all right, well, back to the drawing board on that. And,
right.
And I've kind of decided that I want that to happen when I have a better space dedicated for it. So I don't have to worry about the 4-year-old wanting to mess with it or it being in the way, whatever.
Yeah. It'll save on setup.
Exactly. And that's why I want to have like a legacy game night in the middle of the week, because on, Monday I can set it up and Tuesday we can play it.
Yeah.
Well,
I just had an idea.
I'm in if there's an extra seat.
All right. There will be.
Then I'm in.
All right.
Russ, you got an idea?
Yeah, speaking of keeping games set up, so I have a play service coming.
Uh-huh.
I have a second play surface coming just in case I change my mood or I want it clean. I need to get the tabletop. Then I can keep like something like Gloomhaven I could keep on underneath.
Or our D&D campaign.
Yeah, and then, I need to get the DM thing for my table. I kind of want that too. Side note. But if I could put the tabletop on it, and then we could play other games, and then when you want to get to that other game, you just take that off. Ooh.
That was a really long way to tell us that you're tired of the once a month that we don't play at your house.
No, I do like playing at other people's houses. I don't want to mean that, but I will say, game-wise, I will not be buying Gloomhaven, so I don't plan on that ever being set up on
What
my
about
table.
Frosthaven?
I mean,
Probably.
I started thinking
I'm
about
like
it.
halfway through Legacy Pandemic Season 1. I got that for my birthday a year and a half ago. So
I got it for Christmas 2 years ago, and I've opened it, and that's as far as I got.
do well with Legacy games. I like them. I love the idea of them.
I've also got Charterstone that I haven't touched.
And see, I would love to do that one too.
Yeah.
So we should play that one. Play that one here. Play Gloomhaven at your place.
It sounds like we just need to figure out a legacy night.
Yep.
Make this happen. Glad we could
hash it out on the show.
Talk semantics.
No kidding.
Shit, scheduling.
See, there's our, and it wouldn't have to be weekly. Maybe we set it up monthly where it's an easier schedule, like the second Thursday every month or whatever.
Right.
Something simple.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's dial that in off the air.
Yeah.
It was riveting.
But we
stuff.
do need more D&D.
People are going to know.
I've got to get better at my DMing.
If we do it on the air, people will know exactly what night to start like messaging our social media and just be like, "Huh, we're gonna screw up their game night.
Right?
No legacy games for them."
So let me ask you this. Side note to legacy games here. I saw someone streaming play of a legacy style game. What are your thoughts on that?
if I'm really interested in the storyline or the game itself, I'm not going to watch it.
Right. That
I think it's fine, though, for those that are interested and don't like surprises.
I guess.
I have zero interest in actually watching someone play a game. If I'm watching a play of a game, I want it to be instructional, and I want it to be highly edited. Like I want get to
Speed it
the
up.
point. I don't like if I were to produce like playthrough videos.
Yeah.
It would be, a 2-hour game, and I would pare that down to like 20 minutes max. I mean, unless there was like something outside the game, like if we were talking shit the entire time and it was funny. So it's and then at that point, like it's audio. What I'm recording is audio.
Right.
But like if I were to record gameplay, it would be heavily edited. I mean, the content would be genuine. I'd keep the play itself honest, but I would cut out all of the fluff, all of it. I would not because it just doesn't appeal to me. I've yet to see gameplay footage that I am engaged with beyond like, all right, how's a turn work? Okay, cool. I've seen a turn. I don't need to watch the remaining 2.5 hours of this video. I've seen the first 12 minutes and I'm good to go, But that's just me.
The one example that I have that basically is what you're talking about, and something that I'd like to model if we do playthroughs of something, kind of model it around, is the Command Zone podcast. They do a commander night that they call game nights with a K, and they basically do it the way that Tabletop was done with Will Wheaton, in that it's all, cut down to a 30 to 40 minute thing tops, but they have like little segments where they pull them aside and they interview them, and they say, at this point I was going to do this, and then they're all laughing together, and the way that they do it is really engaging, and I think that'd
be fun.
We could do something similar to it, not a direct copy, but as far as the gameplay, I think it would be entertaining to
what was that
go
one
that
again?
route.
I'd like to watch that.
Game Nights with a K.
Okay.
So game nights.
Yep, the Game Nights with a K. All of those words.
all the words have a K?
All right. Well, I think we should wrap this one up.
Yeah, probably. We're getting so far off track.
Well, thanks everybody for making this an awesome year, a great way for us to start, and please help us further develop the show and consider leaving us some feedback. To do that, you can rate and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever podcatcher you use, or just simply send us an email to thelategamepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us at thelategamepodcast.com, at The Late Game Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as our growing YouTube channel. Thanks again for staying up with The Late Game.
I thought you said you silenced your phone.
I did, and then my alarm went off.
Oh, that was your alarm.
I was like, son of a bitch.
That's